Hello, hello. This is Kristina Milosevic, digital marketing coach and podcast creator of KSM Podcast, Growing Business Online with Kristina. And today is a new episode of KSM Podcast. And I'm such a pleasure to have my special guest speaker, Sara Troy. Sara, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I'm super excited having you as my special guest speaker. Sara is a podcast creator as well, and Sara is a coach. So Sara is from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Am I on the right way? So Sara, welcome to the podcast again, and tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and what you do.
Well, my name is Sara Troy. My website is selfdiscoverywisdom.com, and that's where you will find over 3,000 podcasts that I have done over the last decade. I've been in podcasting for over 11 years now. I'm branching out into mentorship programs, sponsorships, and also podcast books. We're in the process of gathering our next podcast book, which is the Forgotten Children series. Hope to do 2 books a year. But I get to interview extraordinary people who are making a difference in the world because they've made a difference in their own life. People like yourself, willing to have taken what you've learned, put it into practice, and then be of service to someone else. So inspiration begets invitation. When we inspire others, we invite them to take their own journey.
Oh, thank you, Sara. Lovely introduction. I'm super excited with having you today. And Sara, how did you, what is your background? Tell us a little bit about that. And how did you start? What triggered you to start your podcasting? I think for now it's 11 years ago, what I know.
Yeah, 11 years ago. I'm an all sorts. I have dabbled at many things. I've owned retail shops. I've owned restaurants. I've worked in the restaurant industry, the film industry, the modeling industry, the DJ industry. I was South Africa's second mobile discotheque, and also the very first go-go dancer before it became sleazy. I introduced it to South Africa. And I've done an awful lot of things, but everything prepared me for this now. All the experiences that I had added up. And how it actually came about is that an industry that I was backing, a technology, had been stolen from us, leaving me bankrupt, leaving me at a crossroads in life. I have a condition that causes waves of depression, and I obviously went into a depression. When I'm in depression, I have to be proactive. So I wrote an article, and I'm online, and I'm trying to be a solution to someone else because I need that to be purposeful to kind of count. And somebody picked up that article and saw my site, my coaching site, which is I coach True Colors, Your View of Life, and Where Are You Now? Where Are You Going? And she invited me to be on her podcast network. I didn't even know what a podcast was at that point, back in 2012. I did 13 months with her, which was live shows, great training ground. I call it the soap opera training because you're in the now. And it set me up to start my own network, which I still didn't quite know what I was doing. So I had to kind of learn as I went. And so everything you see is something that's just being discovered and created. And I wear all the hats, but I get to interview some extraordinary people. And it's a great privilege and honor and ultimate my calling.
Yeah, that's really nice, and I was your guest speaker as well, and I felt amazing there, and it was such an amazing podcast. But also when I met you, I was such like, okay, Sara is such a amazing host, and just when you have 11 years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's really nice.
I think you've got to have passion for what you do, though. It's, as I said, everything got accumulated for me to be prepared to do this. But if you don't have the passion for it, if you don't have the excitement for it, no matter what you're doing in life, A, you're not going to stay with it. B, you're not going to give it your all. And C, people aren't going to feel you.
Yeah, that's really true, And when we spoke about on your podcast, we were mentioning about heart-centered, oriented entrepreneurs.
Yes,
Which I'm 100%. but know that you are so. And
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit your experience as a heart-centered entrepreneur when you speak to people and hosted such amazing, lovely people, entrepreneurs all around the globe?
Well, you know, I have 18 different genres which kind of cover different topics. So whether it's business or health or spirituality or children or whatever it is, we fit people into that category to make it easier for other people to follow. But people say to me, who do you interview? And I said, first of all, foremost, people who come from the heart. Because when they come from the heart, their intention is to enlighten, illuminate, inspire somebody else's life. And I think that is extremely important. If you don't come from the heart in your life on any aspect, you're in discovery of who you are. You're still living an outside life, not an inside life. And I think anybody that really has found that calling, that passion, that business that means something to them, you know when it comes from the heart, because you can feel the heart speaking in every word and in every action that they do.
Yeah, and that's really true, And and it's such great that you have different genre, different section, how I can say
Yeah.
in your podcast,
Channels,
on
if some people like to call
channels,
them. Yes.
And I know that your podcast is on many platforms.
Yes.
Can you tell us? Yeah, I think that it's more than 10.
Oh, I am on 16 audio platforms, 2 video platforms, on 4 sites, and many, many social medias. And so some of them, you know, obviously iTunes and Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, Google, FM Player, Pod Chaser, no, Pod Addict. Gosh, quite a number of them there. And you know, people who have their favorite, you know, of where they want to listen. The biggest one obviously is iTunes and then Spotify, but other people have their favorite in which way they like to listen. Some people like to listen, some people like to watch it on YouTube or Odyssey. And it's up to how somebody wants to receive it.
Yeah, and and in my from my experience, I run it was Pro Entrepreneur Day, but I started and I have done rebranding this year in January
Hmm.
2023, KSM podcast, Growing Business Online with Kristina, which is a point to I always interview only just entrepreneurs who are mostly in online space because I do
Hmm.
remotely and all my job is in the area of digital marketing and in online space, but also and help people. The point of this podcast and focus is to help business owner to move forward in online space and to connect, and
Yes.
this is such an amazing thing. And can you tell us a little bit, for example, for people who are not too much familiar with podcasting? I think that podcast and video marketing is so important to people, but there are people who are shy in front of camera,
Yes.
and I wanted
I've had,
this podcast just inspire other entrepreneurs to move forward and to be guest speakers or run their own podcast, whatever may be, to be that people can see them and be much more visible.
I'm a huge person that you must have it on an audio platform as well, and not just, you know, on a video platform. And I actually 5 years, my first 5 years of my own network, I only did audio. And then I was having something where we were doing a co-hosting show together. And she said, Sarah, it's time for us to do video. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, who wants to watch this old bag speak? And then from the back of my head, my conscience said to me, it's not about you, it's about the content. And it's just another medium for people, because some people are visual and they like to connect with the visual person speaking. They feel they're kind of in the room, or they're a part of the conversation. Other people like to, you know, while they're jogging, cleaning the house, having a bath, you know, whatever it is, they like to listen. And so it's good to have both platforms, because some people, and when I look at my shows and where they're doing well, it surprises me on because I was based on SoundCloud only for a while, and then slowly I'm moving everything over to everything else. And it's interesting. I look at a show and it's like, wow, you know, we're up and over the 1,000 on that, and I wouldn't have expected that. But on the video part of it, it didn't do so well. So it's good to have a cross medium of a podcast. And the reason why podcast is important, if you have a business, it is a way to promote your business. It is a way to let people know who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, what it is that you're doing, how is it going to serve them. And if they buy you, then they're more willing to buy from you. And people can see a fraud. They know when people are all about ego, but they want to know you're in it for the right reason, and they will get that in a podcast. And then it's like, I feel I know you, or I feel you're speaking to me. I really want to know more about you. I feel that connection. And it is then that invitation that goes out to people. So I think doing podcasts when you have a business is very good to get on as many podcasts as you can. But please, on a high note, respect the podcaster. This is an industry where it's very hard to charge people because podcasting was always free and people got advertising in other ways. I don't like advertising coming up in the middle of an interview, ruining the interview. So I do sponsorship instead. But I also leave it up to donation. So if you have been inspired by something, it's like everything, you cross the hand with a little silver because it's just respect on both sides. So if you are going to be on people's podcasts, please respect their platform, how they interview, make sure you share it out and show your appreciation in the form of monetization.
Yeah, that's really true, you know, because as you said, sometimes and somehow it's so hard to monetize podcast in some way, to charge for guest
Yeah.
speakers to pay you, you know. There are podcasters who do that, for example,
Mhm.
that charge for podcasting
Yeah,
or
I know that
guest
charge
speakers.
400, 500 a show
Yeah.
easily, right? But then they have a target market. And if you're targeting your market to business, it's a part of their marketing campaign costs. So they
Yeah,
will pay
and
that.
this is the way that when you do that kind of podcasting, that you should pre-qualify your guest speakers who
Yes,
wanted to target some platforms, or maybe you should have third part of platforms as host. You should pay for that that you want to deliver that podcast of your guest speaker who needs specific niche. And
yes,
you
exactly.
know,
And I think
it,
it's also very good to kind of have a sample of who the podcaster is, right? To listen to one of their podcasts. Is it the right platform for you? And it's not just go on every single podcast for the sake of it. If you've got somebody that's not in sync with your way of doing things, or feel that it's totally, right or left field for you, go somewhere where you feel, okay, I really like who the podcaster is. And so, people, as again, I have such a broad spectrum of people I interview, but the common denominator, I don't care what it is you're doing, but does it come from the heart and does it benefit other people? That's all I really want to know.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love, because I was so shy behind in front of the camera. And 4 years ago I started my challenge. And then
Mm.
I created some videos, either that I run team for the web and graphic design, but from working with people, with clients, you always have something new and discover your new skills, and I love to speak to people and I love to connect, and I'm super networker, we were
Yes.
talking about on your podcast about it. And then when I've started that, and it was like I didn't know that I'm going to do podcasting, it
Hmm.
was like I hosted 4 people. It was 21-day challenge about social media. And that I started in my partnership. We were running one other group, and she said, Kristina, why don't you pop up? Why don't you pop up? It was
Yeah.
like, I'm not too much familiar, let's say, with Facebook Live, for example. I'm much more familiar with this podcast, with video, what I create and put in my group or something like that. So this
Yeah,
is
and I think
experience.
that's something that's very important to understand. If you do something live, it's going to go on that stream and get lost, right? Um, but also when I've listened to people's podcasts and like, "Oh, I'd love to meet that person. Where's their information? Zero. No information on the person. well, how do I get hold of this person that you've just interviewed that has inspired me? There is no website, there is no contact information, nothing. So it's not, as you know, I give an entire blog. You have an entire show page with all your information on there. That's the true color coach of me, where I want to speak to all four personalities. So whoever's looking, whether they're reading, looking, listening, or watching, I'm covering all those personality traits. But
And
it's great to do it live, but still make sure that people can see it. And that's why I think it's important to have a website where your shows are at, because I have people listening to shows I did 10 years ago. Right? That information is still relevant to that person at that time. Doesn't matter how old it is.
yeah, that's really true. And as you said, because there are podcasters who don't want to, and this is maybe this is for, as you said, we have to put, because this video is going to be in my Facebook group, and when I do deliver and everything, I put that announcement who will be my guest speaker next. It's going to be always on Friday, video in the Facebook group. And then what there are people who maybe they don't want to put that because, you know, if there are some paid guest speakers, they will do it, you know, or there are podcasts when you don't have to say your website and something like that, just because in special one.
Well, if somebody's promoting their business and they're not willing to give their website, then they're clearly not promoting their business.
Yes,
Yes,
that's true.
You've got to have people that they've got to understand, and I have an entire etiquette thing of being a guest. It is, be on time. Don't cancel out of the whim of it. If sickness or something happens, it's understandable. But oh, I just don't feel like it today. Forget it. I'm booked 2 months in advance, and if somebody cancels at the last moment just because, then I could have had somebody in that space, and it upsets my whole, delivery of my shows every week, because I do normally 4 to 8 shows a week, depending on what's going on. And it is respect the host and the time that they've put in, and make sure you share it. Make sure that you are respectful of that person's time that they've put in there. There's a two-way street here. There isn't just a one-way. And, I recommend that you take all of these shows and put them up on your website under podcasts, because people will come and listen to those to know more about you.
Yeah. And my show is also on audio. It's on Amazon, on podcast, Google Podcast, on radio, public radio.
Yes, I'm on that one too. Yeah.
Also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And I will go to do it maybe in new 10 audio platforms for podcasting, which is going to be great. And I'm super happy with that. So,
I think what people, forget about when they're going to podcasting, they think that it's just, talk, and there's nothing. I know people that pay $300 to have their production done for them. I wear all of those hats. Whether you are just doing an audio, putting out a video, it takes time, it takes work. That's even before you start sharing it. And I used to host a lot of hosts, and all they had to do is have their guests fill out the form. And they send me the audio, the video, and I do all the other work. But trying to get them to get it in on time, right? That's all they had to do, is get things in on time. And it, really became quite a headache, because people would not treat it seriously. And I think it's when you are doing this, as you started doing this now, there is XYZ amount of work around it, right?
Yeah, it has been about a lot of work to do it, and put your energy and time to do it, and recording and speaking, and you're so experienced with that. So yeah, that's really nice.
Each production is at least 4 hours before it goes to air.
Yeah, as you said, because I think that when people cannot join guest speakers, they could say 1 or 2 days before, earlier, to let you know, or whoever is a host, that space could be used for some other people. Just don't to lose your time. And to say for someone who cannot appear on that podcast,
right. And things do happen. I mean, I had one last week where I had this guy, I knew he was coming in, but for some reason it hadn't made it to my calendar on the right day.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought he was coming this week, and it ended up he was last week. And I knew there was something nagging me at the back of my head, but it wasn't on my calendar. Right. So, and I made the mistake. Well, he was waiting for me. I wasn't there. And the funny thing is, I was actually working on the computer, but it kind of the Zoom thing didn't come up. And so, yes, we make mistakes too, because everybody's human. Right. But it's the more the flippancy. I just don't feel like it. I'm not going to turn up. That's what I don't respect. There isn't a second chance if that's the case. You know.
That's really nice. And Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about your coaching part?
Yes, well, I'm a
How
true
do you
colors
do that? Do you work on
well
one-to-one,
online. Yeah, I can do
online,
one.
all
I can
around the
do
globe? Can you
yes.
share with us who do you coach? Who are mostly your clients, and who, just for all listeners who are listening to this podcast to connect with you, because they could be your guest speakers and they could be your clients, why not?
Right. Well, I have a program, the Discover Yourself. And what we do is we take them through their true colors personality to understand their personality trait and which order it comes in. Because when they actually understand of how they hear people and how they interact with people, then they actually understand why sometimes other people don't get them. They're speaking from this personality trait, and that person's listening from that one. And they learn how to adjust their language so they're speaking to all personalities, or learn to identify what other personality trait this other person is. But I also take them on their view of life. It's a metaphorical journey, and it shows me if they are actually being connected to their life or if they're missing things around them, and how to pay attention to that. And then the next phase is, as I'm a seer, is I see possibilities. And I can then show them a map of possibilities that lie before them, and help them see, to broaden their whole sight there of where they can go and what they can do. They're now prepared with their personality traits, so they know their strengths and they know their weaknesses, and they know what they need to pay attention to in the journey of life. And now they can actually see what possibilities they have to go forward to. So it just gives them something to put in their backpack on their journey of life and how to move forward. And that it's a $388 US dollars program. But I also have mentorship and practitioners directory for people who also have done a Y show with me and also want to have in the directory their services, their business. And that's a whole business platform for them on the podcast. And I have another site called the orchardofwisdom.org. And that's where the books and the mentorship and the coaching is done through.
Oh, that's nice. We spoke, and when I was your guest speaker, but we didn't speak deep inside of your coaching. So this is fantastic what you do. Just to how do you do that?
Well, I'm very much about live from the inside out. But very often we're so busy living from the outside. But in order to live from the inside out, you've got to know your human trait in order to understand your soul guidance. And so it's very important that we actually know how we receive information, how we interact with people,
Yes.
where we're coming from, because it helps us broaden that understanding and listenership of other people. And I think it just gives people a sense of, I get it now.
Yeah,
And more awareness. And when we're more aware, we kind of are more careful and become better interactors.
Yeah, and this is what you said, that we need just to be connected inside of us, don't just to what we have outside of us.
Yes.
Sometimes we forget on that.
Yeah.
And
No, it's a facade, the outside.
Exactly. Who we are and what we do, and do we, when you do what you love to do, I think that is the way that one of knows that you connected yourself in some way.
Yes. But that's where I say, people who come from the heart, the people I interview are people who have had life-changing events. And from that life-changing event, made a discovery about themselves and now have the skill and the tools to help other people on that journey of life, right? And you can feel it. They're the people that have that life experience. They've had the redirects. They've even had the cosmic 2x4, but they got back up and they made that discovery of self. And that is what they're sharing today of how they did it, where they are now, the inspiration that begets invitation they are now. And I think, you can have as many degrees as you like. And if you're a neurosurgeon, I want you to have a degree, I want you to be qualified, but there's nothing better than life experience.
Yes, this is the best university. This is
Yeah.
faculty of life,
Yes.
You don't have to attend and graduate in universities. You learn that in your life, from
Right.
your
You
life.
graduate when you die because you're
Yeah,
constantly learning,
that's
right?
true.
You're
Yes,
learning
that's
all
true.
your life. Yes.
Yeah, that's really true. And we cannot learn everything, all
No.
our life,
No, that's the next lifetime. Whatever
Yeah.
you've learned in this lifetime kind of goes over as an imprint into the next one. And that's why we have deja vu moments. So that's when we have familiar moments in our life, is
Yeah,
because we've done it before.
yeah, that's true. And Sarah, what are your favorite social media platforms? And do you have your Facebook group
Mhm.
in terms that people connect with you, maybe just on LinkedIn or Facebook or
Yes, no, I'm
Instagram?
on LinkedIn under Choose Positive Living, because I used to have a show under that, so it was on that. I'm on my personal one on Facebook is Sara Troy 88, but I have a self-discovery wisdom up there. My group is still Self-Discovery Media because I rebranded a little while ago into Wisdom. I'm sharing wisdom all the time. Why am I calling it Medium? So I changed it to Self-Discovery Wisdom, but it's under Self-Discovery Media. So I'm on that. My two favorite will be LinkedIn and Facebook because you can interact. I find, Instagram is great at posting, but there's really hard to interact. Twitter I use as posting, Pinterest and Tumblr I use as posting, but for interaction, I use Facebook, and I say to every business, you've got to allow so many hours, either,
Yeah,
you're following other people's posts, you're commenting, you're sharing. It's not just about the posting. I do that on the others, but these ones I use as interacting. And I've just joined Thread as well, which is that other Instagram platform, and I'll give that a try, see where that goes.
Yeah, as you said, Instagram is much more for pictures, for images,
Yes,
but
and limited
LinkedIn,
square pictures,
yeah,
and you can't put links up, so
yeah,
yeah, it's limited, very
yeah,
limited. I don't
yeah, but
understand the appeal, quite honestly, but
as you know, that LinkedIn is so established social
yeah.
media platform,
And
and
it didn't used to be that interactive, and they changed the algorithm, and now I've met some wonderful people. And I get such good support when I post things, and interactive, which is wonderful. And it's that interactive is a building of our network, isn't it? It's our connection in business. It's where people want to then have a chat with you, want to know more about your business. How can we help each other? Where they refer or where they become your client, and this is part of your marketing strategy, is the interaction, participate.
and I love to do it because I'm everything, as you said, connection queen. I love to connect with people and build relationship on long-term journey. And
Exactly.
this is amazing. And I would love to have you in my other podcast. Let's say to the in autumn maybe, or to the end of the year. But anyway,
Yeah,
I'm super excited having you today as my special guest speaker. And
it's been a delight.
yeah, I'm so much delighted, like, to be honest, really. And what I wanted to say that I asked you many questions, but you also work with female entrepreneurs and male. Is that correct?
Anybody. I
Anybody.
don't care. Binary, anybody.
You
I
know,
mean,
you
it's
know
again,
that there are
heart and soul. That's all
coaches
I
who
ask.
work only with women, for example.
And no, I work with everybody. And it really, as I said, what casing you're in, this body, doesn't make any difference to me. It's really what I look at is the heart and soul, because that shows me your character. It shows me your intent, heart and soul and spirit. Those are the things that I look for in somebody. And are you in it for the right reason? And I really don't care what
Yeah, that's really nice.
what
And
container they're in.
do you want to share for our listeners who will listen to this podcast, podcast episode with Sara Troy today, something with someone who wanted to start their business, or that but they wanted to be encouraged, you know, or they shy, or just to try,
Yeah.
especially for entrepreneurs who are heart centered oriented, because
Right.
it is from their heart. I think that they really need to start and try
Right.
their business.
Two things. Don't compete with anyone else and don't compare. You are unique. What makes you stand out? Why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Who are you here to serve and how? Those are the questions you need to ask yourself. You can be inspired by how somebody else has done it. You like their platform or you like the way they do it, but you've got to be unique in the way you're doing it and understand your why. Don't put money, fame, or fortune at the top of the list. Guaranteed you will fail, even if you become rich and famous. Your heart will be empty. Follow your heart, listen to your gut. Never ever argue with your gut. It is always right. And don't compare. Be inspired, but be unique. And that first leap you're going to take in life is the first step. Don't be afraid to take that first step. I had no idea what I was doing when I started this. Live, the very first show, I pressed all the wrong buttons. I got better at it and understand. Don't wait for perfection. When it's all perfect and all alike. No,
Nobody's perfect, I mean.
no. You have
Nobody's
perfect
perfect.
moments.
Yeah.
You have
Yes.
perfect moments, but there's no such thing as perfection. Just go and do it. Listen, learn, and apply.
Yeah, that's really nice. And finally, Sara, we can just repeat again your website and the name of your podcast for all listeners who will listen to the episode and connect with you.
So theorchardofwisdom.com is where the main podcasts are, although there are on other sites as well. theorchardofwisdom.org is the books, the mentorship. You'll also find the podcast there. The selfdiscoverywisdom.com is where you'll also find all the podcasts, is the main hub for all the podcasts. And you can get hold of me at selfdiscoverywisdom@gmail.com.
That's really nice. And Sara, it's, you know, I asked you many questions. You share such amazing story and amazing, just amazing experience what you do by your podcast and coaching. Thank you so much for being my special guest speaker today.
Pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you so much, and I will see you very soon. Take care and thank you again. Thank you again. I'm super excited and see you very soon. And bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.